Thank you for joining today. Today is a very special, interesting conversation, and one of my favorite topics, which is money. We have an individual who goes by a title of financial fiduciary, but I believe he's more than that. I think he's a money educator and a financial teacher. Help me welcome Pete Foldis. Hi, Pete. How are you doing today?
Hi, Elena. Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let's start. Let's start because one of the conversations that I have I understand that they are very interesting and around me are regarding to money.
Okay.
What will be the very first myth that you believe there is in the world about money?
The first thing that came to mind is that money doesn't buy happiness.
Oh, I love that.
That's a myth.
Let's start there.
Okay.
So if you believe that or you perceive that to be a myth, what people don't see or don't understand about that specific sentence?
What happiness is. And that's the biggest crux of it all. You see, because happiness is an emotion. And it comes and it goes. And so there are going to be moments where there's happiness. And of course, in the pursuit of that happiness, which as Americans is our God-given right according to the Constitution, right? Then in that pursuit, we often experience the opposite, as you know, the polarity of it. Inside of that, money gives us these short-term happinesses, right? Money buys puppies. I love puppies.
I love puppies.
Money helps you travel. I love travel. Money gets you great food and good health care. And those things help us feel healthy and well, which is the root of wealthy and what that actually means. So the idea that money is evil comes from the idea that we need it to get happy. And we're, of course, functioning off of a foundation of understanding that's backwards.
So there's two things that I perceive, understand of what you're saying. Number one, we don't need money to be happy. And number two, money is more or less than happiness is what every person individually want to make out of. So, what do you do and how do you do it? And who are your clients?
Yeah, well, I think ultimately, one of the things I think I heard you say, I do believe that money buys happiness. I don't believe that money buys fulfillment. And that's the thing that I try to help people get to, is a place of a life that they're fulfilled. Because in pursuit of these happy little dopamine hits, right, the things that we enjoy, is real life. And on the other side of that real life, if we use money to escape from those things, then we're never really advancing and enjoying the things we care most about, our values, so that we can be fulfilled.
That's beautiful. You know what? I never heard that like this before, and I love what you said. So let me just, that was beautiful. So what you're saying is that, yes, money buy happiness. If drugs make you happy, if a house is going to make you happy, if a dog is going to make you happy, if traveling makes you happy. But what you saying is that we thrive for fulfillment. We try to actually get to a place in which we have a fulfilling life. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, because people have the perception that when they have the house, which requires the money to buy, that they'll be happy. But they get in that house and all of a sudden they realize they're not. And maybe they sacrifice their relationships and their health on the way to get that money. And they're enjoying that empty house, or they're not really enjoying it. They had all that success and thought, this is it. This is all it feels like. I just got this thing. I got the car. I got the house. And that's where I was at in my 20s. I did everything I sought out to do. And I wondered, this is what the money is? That's it? That's all it does for me?
So what you're saying is you had the money, but you didn't have fulfillment.
It's very hard to be fulfilled if you're always looking for the next dopamine hit.
Wow. This is probably going to be one of those videos that gets into the interview. Can you repeat that, please?
It's very hard to be fulfilled if you're always looking for the dopamine hit.
Wow. I love that. I'm going to write that in my wall. Okay, Pete, at Pluton Live, how specifically you connect with your clients, how you educate your clients, and what your clients learn from your company?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So in our company, really, we are a financial company that helps people when it comes to business structure, retirement planning, income planning, tax planning, mitigating the drags on people's portfolios. But none of those solutions really matter when it comes down to it if they're not aligned with somebody's values, what they know about, what they care about, what the result is they're trying to achieve. If it achieves the result, but they don't understand it, they're probably not going to follow the plan. And then the plan doesn't actually have much chance of success at that point. So what we do is approach our financial services from the lens of the people who we're serving, what their values are, what's important to them. And we try to help them create vision of what their purpose is and really what they want beyond their physical time.
So I read in your bio that you create a legacy, not just a financial
Correct.
status
Correct.
or form.
Yeah, so it's easy to accumulate money. It's easy to make money, especially in business. We have a perception that money comes and it goes. That cash flow gives us that idea that we have a lot of it. Only 20% of all business owners successfully exit their company, which means as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, only 1 out of 5 people have the ability to sell it for a profit or pass it down and keep it in their family for additional generations. Now, when those generations get the money, typically by the time the grandkids get the inheritance, whatever was built is gone. So how do we create something that's long-lasting, that's generational, that has impact not just in our time, but beyond our time?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, that beautiful balance of how do we enjoy our life to accumulate enough to do that? And that's where we come in, being able to give people access to fulfillment today while designing a legacy for them that lives beyond their time.
Wow. Can you give me an example without giving me specific names?
Yeah, sure. So whether it's through structures like trusts, family foundations, to be able to keep more money and more discretion as how it's deployed, to be able to do the things you care about, in your life. Maybe there's a level of charitable giving that you want to be able to have, or charitable impact you want to have through education systems, water. I got clients that have gone to the Philippines and installed clean water systems in villages, or started small schools that they've been able to do with their endowments and with their estates, while being able to still successfully mitigate their taxes while they're alive, create generational wealth while they're alive, and do the things they want to do while they're alive too.
Pete, we know each other for a little bit of time.
A few years now, yeah.
A few years. And in my perception, usually every time that I meet with you, either you're not coming from home, you're traveling, you're on the way, either somewhere else or coming from somewhere else. And I know that you are located in a specific city, but it just seems like you're usually traveling. My question is, and I assume this travel is for work. How do you manage? I understand that you're a family man, and I have seen how important your family is to you. How do you manage being this traveler individual while you have a beautiful family that you want to take care of, and you are?
Yeah. Well, I have a 6 and an 8-year-old. When my daughter was born, who's the 8-year-old, I actually stopped all the jobs that I had at the time and was a stay-at-home dad. So you ask, how do you manage? It really boils down to what you value most and prioritizing those things. As an example, I just got back from, last night we went to 2 hours of Little League baseball practice with both of my kids. I'm the head coach. And so although I'm putting in the time and the effort in my business, I design my day to be able to include the important things. So that might include me waking up, earlier than I would otherwise to do things that I can do on East Coast time because I'm in Las Vegas while my kids are sleeping. But then when my kids are awake, I get to have breakfast with them, get them ready for school, do all the things I do, have my work day when they're working. And then when they're back, I get my 4 hours from the time they get out of school to the time they go to bed. And for them, their perception is I'm always around. And that's the goal.
Am I wrong, or baseball have a very special place in your heart?
Yeah, it was my first love, if you will. So I played baseball in college, and as a young kid, going back to my family, the only thing I ever really knew I wanted to do and wanted to be was to be a dad and to have a family.
Oh.
And then to play baseball. So after having a family, now I just the other day after our experience, people talk about dreams and what do you want to accomplish? The thing that I wanted to accomplish was the family I have. They are my dream. And so when you ask the question about managing, to me, it's not really managing. It's just the opportunity to make choices. And I don't have guilt or shame about not doing work or prioritizing them over work and vice versa. Because one thing my kids and my wife both understand is the opportunity I have through the work we do has an impact in so many people's lives. And my kids, when they get asked, hey, where's your dad? What's he doing? They say he's helping lives. He's helping people. You know, he's in Dallas helping people. He's in Michigan helping people. And so for all of us in our household, it's with a greater purpose and a greater meaning that we have a collective effort towards that vision.
More than ever, the current environment, most individuals are afraid to be in a relationship. More than ever, the numbers of divorces and single individuals is increasing. It seems to me that you are a very committed father and husband, and that you enjoy that. And I perceive that a lot in my work and based on the work that I've done with many individuals, there is a sense of fear of losing their own identity by being a father or a partner in a relationship of being a husband. How do you manage into having your own identity and also at the same time being so inspired to be a dad and a husband?
Yeah, I think if your identity is separate from those things, then that's probably where it starts. And what I mean by that is integrating the parts of you that are most important and understanding that if work is your number one value and the thing you care most about, that there's a way to communicate the power of language and the power of behavior to communicate that with your family so that they understand you're behaving in your highest values, but that doesn't mean you don't care about them. And if you do care about them, you got to find a way to show it. Got to find a way to be present. Got to find a way to communicate, right? Ultimately, I think it's really just the integration of those things and being focused on being a master of your life and being intentional about what it is you care most about and doing it.
You said that two things. You said your kids feel like that you're always around. That was the first thing you said. But you also said that when somebody asked them, where's your dad? They said, well, he's helping others, right? Yeah. How do you manage when you are around and traveling and not being present there for them to not feel your absence and to have certainty that you are doing something that is very individual for you and your own heart without having them to feel that you're sacrificing the relationship with them? That's a big question, right?
The law of conservation. And so my kids have heard about how nothing's ever lost or gained. It only changes form. We also talk about how I have a heartstring attached to their heart. And when they feel their heartstrings being pulled, they can pull and I'll feel it. And so these are the things that we talk to them about so they understand where I am showing up in their life. And when something happens in their life and their day that reminds them of me, that they get to know that that's an opportunity to know that I'm with them, even if they don't see me in front of them.
How about the relationship with your wife? It seems that you have an extraordinary relationship with her. How do you manage to build that without her feeling like you're not that present, sometimes helping with the kids, but you are? How does that work?
I'm not sure that that's her perception. So I think part of it is that, we make a great team and we communicate well. And I think ultimately that's what it boils down to is communicating and being on the same page. We make a lot of plans from a standpoint of how we're going to do the handoffs and how we're going to make it all work and spin all the plates and where those plates are going to be going and how we're going to make it all happen. And so I think it boils down to, we've made a lot of mistakes, so to speak, over time, people would say. I was a millionaire. Made my first million at 25 and was bankrupt at 28. And my wife was a part of that whole time. We've been together since college. So all the times all the choices we've made, the good and the bad, so to speak, the ones that maybe are polarizing, we made them together. And we own those decisions together and we learn from them. And one of the things that we really believe in is Hakuna Matata. What's the purpose of worrying? When it comes down to money, I think money destroys. You mentioned divorce, which is in my new book. A lot of financial advice talks about the 3 Ds: disability, death, and I was already getting to divorce. There we go. And divorce, right? Because divorce is cutting your financial portfolio in half, right? And multiple divorces make financial abundance almost impossible. So you get married 2-3 times. That actually kills financial portfolios. Obviously, death, that's the end of your life. And disability is what stymies and mitigates and prevents people from being able to earn money and access their money and be able to qualify for special needs treatment if they need it later in life. But what people don't talk about is the drift, is the time all those marriages that stay together out of communication, out of love, out of understanding. And those are the ones that don't go through divorce, but are the ones that are most fractured. And so there's a different type of effect on people's lives when they're in that type of situation, which boils down to why relationships are so important and are the basis and foundation for your relationship capital that builds your financial capital. Right? So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was definitely great. I love the part where many marriages, when they see ugly or a struggle or challenge, they just exit. Do the exit there instead of just sticking together and working through that as a team. And I think that's what you are saying, that you guys work as a team instead of just, you work through the good and bad, which is the primarily commitment of marriage, right?
Yeah.
Marriage is, I see that a lot of individuals says, I don't have a perfect marriage, or my marriage is not perfect. And by saying that, what they really mean is my marriage is not good, everything good, when I don't fight with my wife or my husband.
Doesn't match the fantasy.
Exactly. And, but the reality is that that's not the perfect marriage, right? I perceive that that's what you said. Tell me a little bit about your kids and what they like.
Well, we went to dinner the other night. My 6-year-old ordered escargot. So they have a wide range of likes and enjoyment from sports and gymnastics, baseball, swimming, sciences, arts, music. They've enjoyed being able to be exposed to all those things, and they really enjoy singing. We got car rides where they just pretty much are singing songs the whole time, 30 minutes, hour-long car rides, and they love it. So they have a lot of different interests. And my daughter, she'll read books front to back. If you let her for 4, 5, 6 hours, she'll just go front to back through a book. And my son could probably do the same with movies if you let him.
Well, it seems like sometimes you allow yourself to be a kid with these kids, right?
Oh, it's the best. All the time. The other night, we went to that restaurant where they ordered escargot, and my daughter had a Snow White costume on, and my son had a Spider-Man costume on. It's like a white tablecloth French restaurant, and, most people wouldn't do that. And like I said, maybe it backfires on us later in life, but the manager of the restaurant treated those kids so wonderfully and talked to them as if they were Snow White and Spider-Man, and the kids got a kick out of it, and it was a great time. So
excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You spoke about sometimes you help your clients to create, bring different things to create, fulfill their dreams of bringing help to other individuals, might be in a different country. Do you mind sharing some experience that you had in which you helped a client that was difficult to understand, to be helped, but yet you were successful in doing that?
Yeah, I think often one of the big concerns or big things that happen from a mindset perspective in retirement is for 30 years, people have accumulated their wealth, but no one's prepared them of how to deploy it, how to withdraw it, how to be able to access it in a way that's efficient and safe for them and that matches their life goals with their financial goals. So as an example, the idea that, someone that might save $1 million or $2 million or $3 million in a 401k gives you great advantages while you're saving that money. You get to defer the taxes. When you retire, You got to pay them. And when they start to force you to pay them through your what's called required minimum distribution, now you're pulling that money out and paying the most tax that you've ever paid at the time you need the money the most. And these are the types of things that people don't know about. And so when someone comes to me and they have a lot of stress and anxiety and uncertainty, it really starts with understanding what the layout is of how we can achieve their goals and their dreams. And then we can implement structures and strategy to match that.
Excellent. What makes people what is the reason that people are not educated into what they can do with their money?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors. One, it's difficult to spend time on a whole education that is outside of your profession or your business, right? To be as educated as someone like myself who spends their day and their career doing it, it's very hard to catch up when it comes to information. The other thing is, where are you getting your information from? The majority of us are getting our information from news and media outlets that benefit from our participation in most of the investments that they share. As an example, the stock market. When people are investing in the stock market, they're investing in companies that are not anything to do with them most of the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe they buy their product, but has no relationship with how they add value, and they're hoping that the company does that for them. So there's, of course, that risk. As a business owner and entrepreneur, the question becomes, does it make sense to diversify versus being able to accumulate with your own dreams? Now, diversification is great when you're trying to stabilize wealth. But when you're trying to grow wealth, you want to be able to put as much velocity behind that growth as you can. And diversification makes that difficult. Okay, so that's one of the things that people don't understand when they hear about diversify. When it comes to the stock market, they're great at marketing. I can't believe it, how great they are. Because when the market's tanking and it's the bottom, it's the best time to buy. And when it's on the comeback, it's the best time to buy. And when it's at the peak, you better not miss out because it's still the best time to buy. So no matter what's going on in the market, it's always the best time to buy. I think that's an amazing thing they've been able to convince people of when it comes to marketing. So the reality is a lot of people, 80% of folks, know what to do with their finances, but they don't do it. Because most financial decisions are driven by emotion. And that emotion takes us away from our center, which are the things we care most about, our values.
Wow, that's so powerful. Emotions, money is, the decisions are driven by emotions.
Including fear, the most powerful driver.
The most powerful driver, correct. Be wealthy.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
Well, I mentioned a little bit earlier that the actual etymology meaning of the word wealth comes from well-being. But somewhere along the line, we lost sight of that in society, and it all became about finances and money and accumulation and things. And so as a massage therapist and health educator, which was my first career for 10 years, I learned real quickly how the emotional factors get into our bodies and store in our bodies. And a lot of those emotional factors, not just the fear, but also the money, right? Because money, although it's not even a human object, it's an inanimate object. It's a man-made tool, and yet we have so much emotion about this man-made tool that's really just a signal of stored value. And so when it comes down to how that happens and how that works, are you sacrificing your health and your vitality? Are you sacrificing your relationships to get money that you hope to create the life that you want to have? Doing things that are exhausting you, driving energy, taking energy from you rather than giving you energy. So we like to try to flip the script. What gives you energy? Who's the person you want to be? How do you want to show up when you walk into a room? Those are the things that are the primary foundation aspects that allow somebody to have relationship capital that helps grow their wealth, have mental capital, the things they know that they can deploy to add value to others so that that value comes back around in the form of money. So they can build their financial wealth to be able to attain the things that, will help them have happiness and give them fulfillment along the way.
Wow. Have you have a client that expressed to you how much you have helped them through this process after you start working with them?
Absolutely.
What happened and how you did?
Yeah, from clients who thought they wouldn't retire and getting them exited and retired and being able to live the life that they want, to folks that thought they'd retire but be miserable because they were too stressed out, and being able to help open up a door of freedom for them. A lot of people are seeking financial freedom. And really, that's just the mental aspect of it. Do you feel financially free? A lot of teachers who don't make a lot of money are financially free because money's not a high value of theirs necessarily. They didn't get into the work for money. They got into the work for impact. Money's just the secondary aspect, which is absolutely great for them, right? When it comes down to how that relates, if money is a value to you, then it's going to be a struggle.
For someone who appreciates and wants to value money or values money, what would be the first step to take into conserving the money?
Sure. Well, we see it all the time with people that inherit or people that make money fast, lottery winners or athletes or people, entertainment folks that make a lot of money fast. And the emotional factors, which is how you and I came to really know each other, the emotional factors preventing and limiting people's ability to achieve their financial dreams is guilt, shame, and blame. Guilt, the idea of letting others down. Shame, the idea of letting yourself down. And blame that you don't have control over your destiny. And those things ultimately circulate. And when we can really identify what's holding people back, maybe it's stepping into their authentic self and being able to talk freely and openly and talk to people in a way that adds value, which comes back in the form of money. It changes for everybody, but overall, being able to get to those roots makes a difference. So when we can help elevate someone's self-worth, oftentimes people who inherit money don't feel like they did anything to earn it. So they feel guilty. They find ways of giving it away, maybe charitably, maybe through gifting other people things that they want, buying them the things they always wanted to have, buying associations so that they can, look cool. All of those things come into play.
So, at what time when is a good time, or what is a good age to start learning to handle your money?
So my first job was at 10 years old delivering newspapers. I went to my first financial advisor meeting when I was 10. I think the time is as soon as you can understand that money exists. We talk to our kids all the time about money since they were very little. And I think overall, we all grow up with imprinted ideals and injected values from the people who taught us. Whatever we learned, maybe by their intention or maybe just through osmosis of observing it as a kid. Maybe that was watching parents argue over money or parents spend money. Maybe it was a variety of all the spectrums in between. But all of those stories is what I would call our money muscle memory. What it is that we've experienced, that we've internalized, that's become habit for us, and what's become our normal, whatever our normal is. And for each person, that's different. Which is why, when we have marriages come together from completely different backgrounds, if they have an established commonality around money values, it often leads to discord.
Tell me a little bit about your book. What's the name and when it's coming out or
So I got the first copy right here. It's officially launching on the 10th. It's called Fulfilled AF. 4 Steps to the Life You Thought Your Money Was Supposed to Buy.
Can you give me a little bit more information? And we are in March, so you're talking about March 10. So we're a few days away, which probably by the time this air is going to be available.
Yes, it'll be on Amazon, and we'll provide a link. We have an interactive video course as well that is a companion to the book.
Tell me a little bit. What the audience, when they get a hold of this book, what would they learn?
Yeah, so a lot of what we talked about today in terms of values-based financial living. And so the 4 steps are the framework that I created called neuro-financial alignment. Okay. Being able to connect your mind, your money, and your mission ultimately is what the base of foundation is. So if you look with the end in mind, which we would call your telos from the Greeks, if you consider your life in that fashion, we work backwards and we design the process to be able to achieve what you want. And ultimately, through that process, neurofinancial alignment, we can take people from where we found them to mastering their wealth and mastering their life.
Are you been in a situation when an individual has a lot of money and don't know what to do with it?
All the time. They had an idea of what they expected they would do, or they came into money they really never had a vision or purpose for. And often you won't ever even have that opportunity to acquire the money if you didn't have a vision for it to begin with. Especially if you start earning money that you don't feel like you deserve, then you find ways to humble yourself. Again, whether it's through excess spending, gifting, or that way. Often when I meet a client who doesn't know what to do with their money, they simply understand, I don't even really care about the money. I did work that I loved and I ended up with money. And now what do? I want to be a steward. I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to deploy it with stewardship according to their values.
That's very interesting, Pete. We're going to move a little bit in a different direction, and I want to ask you something more personal.
Okay.
It seems to me, based on my experience with men, that sometimes men have a little bit of a difficulty expressing their emotions. What is your perception on that?
I know that's the stigma. I know that's the normal. I personally value communication and expression. So for me, being able to speak and talk about feelings and ideas has always been something that's been important to me since I was younger. But I do know that there are a lot of people who don't really share the things that bug them. And some of it is out of apathy. Some of it's out of not wanting to cause a stir. And some of it's just simply that they don't think it'll be received well and that they'll be acknowledged and be given tools or openness or love back. And that's, I think, a big driving force rooted in fear.
Can you help me or help them understand what you do and how do you feel about it?
How I feel about what I do?
About sharing your emotions or what your feelings and expressing your emotions.
Sure. I think overall it boils down to knowing yourself and being able to not just know who you are, but to love who you are and unapologetically want to share. When I share, it's not in a moment of like, oh, poor me. It's more of like a goal of let's get constructively positive outcome or a new outcome that fits all of us. I think when we work in tandem or when we work in partnership, we're more powerful together. And so I think a lot of people get in the concept that it's like a predatory prey situation all the time. They got to protect themselves at the same time, because if you don't protect yourself, then you're the prey. So you might as well become the predator so you can proactively prevent that. When you start working from neutral, from love, and you start seeing what's mutually beneficial, then you can deploy the things that you know and surround yourself with the company that you keep, the people that you spend your time with. That really means everything. Because if you're spending time with people you don't feel comfortable with, that's probably something to look at. All right, someone that actually honors your perspective and wants to talk about it. Those are the people I want to hang out with. And so I think it really boils down to knowing yourself, what you care most about, and then unapologetically living into those values in a way that doesn't dismiss or put anyone else down for what they're not doing, but simply honors what's most important to you.
Are you able to give me an example of a time that you were concerned about sharing your emotions and you successfully did it and got a great result?
Yeah, I think certainly with my spouse, with my wife, sometimes it's really hard. Business partners, I think it tends to be really hard because business can get really emotional. And I think one of the things is controlling those emotions in a way that it's not erratic or violent or aggressive, and being able to digest the emotions like we talked about over this past week when we were together. So from a standpoint of example, I think I certainly have done the opposite too, right? Where I didn't express myself well and in looking back would learn from it to be able to do it better next time. I think when it comes to personal relationships, probably some friendships and some family member conversations, I think one thing that people take for granted is that, oh, if we're family, we can just say anything to each other. And I don't really believe that. I also believe that, when people say things with the purpose or intent to hurt others, it's just a reflection of where they're at. And that's a really difficult thing to deal with. But it's also not something for me to change, not unless they're willing and asking the question, right? And so some of those times makes it uncomfortable where you see somebody and where they're at and you love them, and that's completely okay. But you also have to do what's best for you. And sometimes that means the relationship changes. Maybe you spend less time with them.
Pete, you have had many, 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 many jobs. What inspired you to do them? What kind of jobs you had before?
So I started as a paper boy, all right, delivering newspapers. I've been a garbage man in New York on the back of a truck, clearing garbage and recycle. Been a teacher, coach, umpire, worked for the Warriors, the A's, and the San Francisco Giants sports organizations, massage therapist, poker dealer, of course, financial fiduciary. And so real estate, restaurants. I've done all the grunt work to the managerial work, ascended from the bottom of the ranks, so to speak, to the top in multiple different industries. And, when I share these types of stories, a lot of people think it came from, they perceive that it came from not having direction, being sporadic. It's actually quite the opposite. I always had a very clear vision and purpose behind all the things I was doing. And I never did any of those jobs without a purpose behind it. I even worked at Blockbuster, right? So Blockbuster back when that existed. So I, of course, missed a whole bunch in there because I've had over 60 jobs. At one point, I wrote out the list. And there's different fractals and responsibilities within all those industries. But those are the thing is that it really came down to things that fit. A garbage man, as an example, I was at that time of my life focused on baseball. So it was a summer job. I worked on baseball pretty much all day. But as a garbage man, I could wake up at 5 a.m. I could get a full day's pay and maybe be done by 12 or 1 o'clock. That allowed me to play baseball for the rest of the day. And I got to work out and lift heavy boxes, and that was good for my body. So those are the reasons why I did some of those things I did.
You know what, Pete? I want to do something that is different than whatever I've done before. So I want to ask you, I tried to write down everything you said. I hope I catch up with most of it. So I will say the name of the job that you had. And I will appreciate if you can tell me what you learned or whatever that reminds you, like you just did with being a garbage man. And I will repeat, I will use that again. So I will use the job, and pardon me if I skip something or say something wrong. And you just tell me whatever first come. What was the lesson? What did you learn? What was important? Whatever that you briefly can tell me in 2 to 3, 5 words max. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Paperboy.
So many lessons.
Give me one.
How to talk to someone who might tip you.
I love you. I love you. I love you too. And I love it. Uh-oh.
No, it came right through.
I just revealed the truth. But I do love you, Pete. You know what? Before I continue, how tall are you?
6'4".
I just wanted to make sure the world knows that.
Sure.
Okay.
It doesn't look like that on our wall.
It's difficult to ignore you sometimes. Garbage man.
Hard work, good people.
Teacher.
Learner.
Coach.
So much fun.
Umpire.
Challenging.
Massage therapist.
Fulfilling.
Poker dealer.
Energizing most of the time.
I wrote something here that I don't know what it was, but I'm going to keep with real estate.
Yeah, not for me.
Restaurant.
Hustle bustle.
Managerial.
Not fun enough.
And blockbuster.
R.I.P. Blockbuster.
Gone with the wind. All right. My next question is, If I have the opportunity to get a hold of your book today, and I have the opportunity to get a hold of somebody else's financial fiduciary book, what would be the reason that it will make me choose Pitfall's book?
Well, in my perception, there's never been a financial book that teaches financial mastery in the way that this book lays out. If you pick up a typical financial book, you're going to likely hear about a lot of product. In our book, there's only one chapter that even talks about product. And so that's what we call the architecture of wealth, when we can actually build off of your vision, purpose, your mission, your telos. Then we can create an architecture. Then we can implement structure and systems. And then product means a lot. But otherwise, if, again, we go back into like tax strategy and all these different mitigation strategies, even accumulation strategies, what difference does it make if we don't have a purpose or a meaning behind it?
I'm going to ask you a really weird question, but I'm very curious. As I asked you earlier, you are 6'4". Has being that tall have any impact in your life, and how?
Yeah, well, I hit my head more often, that's for sure.
I think that's a different reason, Pete.
So I have to, be careful sometimes, especially in other countries. But yeah, I think overall there's been a difference in size. I always noticed it, and walking around in public spaces, being in one-on-one spaces, the way people perceive me before they ever talk to me, it influences first impressions. It also allows me to see above a crowd. So usually it's easy for my wife and I to get separated in a crowd, and I can wave and she can find me, and it works out.
Oh, that's fantastic. If you had the opportunity today to meet somebody who is in their 50s and has zero money, what would be the advice that you will give?
Well, it'd be hard to give much advice until I had some answers to some questions. So what I'd want to know is, what do you perceive from the time you were born till today has you in the situation with no money? And then I'd love to know what they really believe about money. As an example, if they believe money is evil, then it's going to be a very difficult thing to want money, right? So one thing I did that we haven't talked about, my first project in college as a freshman, I studied homelessness, and I went homeless for 4 days in Washington, D.C. I hadn't shaved my beard or cut my hair for 4 months leading up to it. I took the train into DC from Northern Virginia with a garbage bag, a blanket, and a pillow and a notebook. And I stayed in homeless shelters, slept on the street, interacted with folks that were homeless. And I really wanted to get down to the difference between what was the difference between someone with wealth that was unhappy and unfulfilled versus somebody that had no money but still seemingly was happy and fulfilled. I think we've all met people that have less but are inspiring people. They live their life according to their values and they love their life. So, when it goes back to ultimately the question of you have no money at that point, I would really teach value creation like we talked about before. Mm-hmm. All money is stored value. So if money's on a pedestal or if money's in the pit, we think it's a bad thing or a good thing. We got to figure out where ultimately it's just a thing. And how do we create more of it? It's through generating value to others. People will pay in exchange, fair exchange, money for the things they value. And it's one of the greatest honors we can actually give as a person is to let someone pay us for the value that we've given them. Because most of the time, the only way that someone can really show us that they care and that they loved what we did for them, besides saying it, which feels good but is fleeting, is to actually exchange with money. Because how else would someone be able to say, you've transformed my life. You've taken me from a place I never thought I could be, never thought I'd get to somewhere I thought I never could be. And you helped me do that. And I want to reward you for that because with money, because that's the only way I can. Right?
Excellent.
And so I think those things are imperative to understanding what the purpose of the money is. If someone got to 50 with no money, no savings, what happened? And ultimately, if there was trauma or tragedy, we're going to have to take a look at that for it to be something we can actually learn from and master rather than be a victim of.
If you met a younger person in the early 20s,
Sure.
has the ability to save money and has some money saved, what advice would you give?
So when it comes to accumulation, creating more, cash flow is king. If we're going to talk general advice from an individual perspective, don't do real estate if you don't love real estate. Don't become a landlord if you don't want to actually be a part of what that process looks like. Some people think that owning a house and renting it out, it's all unicorns and rainbows, but it's a really hard thing to do. And yes, you can hire a third-party company to do it, which has an expense, which is great. But incorporate all of that into your thinking. Understand what all that means. If you find yourself doing work you don't love, by the time you're 30, it doesn't matter how much money you made. You're going to look back and wonder, what it is that you did and why, and might end up pivoting at that point. But if you're always working and the purpose of that is money, I'm pretty sure by the end of time, it's not going to be something that fills you up.
An individual who is very talented and doesn't know how to make money, what questions you ask or advices would you give?
Yeah, it's interesting you ask around not making money, because to me, my perception is making money is easy. Stewarding the money is the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's ultimately, a lot of people want to get to the point where we talked about financial freedom. That's the mental side of it. But financial independence is where money is no longer the reason why or why not you're doing something, because you have assets that are generating the money that you need to live off of.
Mm-hmm.
You get to that point, then you can be independent and make choices that are outside of anything else. You can create more risk. You can invest in things that are risky. You can take chances. You can spend more. When it comes to struggling, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, in the working force, you're going to always have a ceiling. So in my perception, we're talking to business owners and entrepreneurs, that's where you can create your own ceiling. That's where ultimately you could say, this is the standard of life I want to have. This is the standard of impact I want to create, and then function from there. But if you're struggling to make money and you're in the workforce, it's going to be hard until you start creating more value that gets exchanged with money, right? You're just going to have to keep adding value to people. So entrepreneurs struggling with that, reflect and ask yourself what you could be doing that people would actually want to pay value for.
What makes you good or great or successful or amazing about what you do?
It's interesting. A lot of folks in financial services, and when they come, when a client comes in, they want somebody with experience.
Mm-hmm.
They expect that experience to really open doors for the right plan, the right strategy. And that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
When people ask me how long I've been a fiduciary, I've only been a fiduciary for 5 years. But I'm 40 now. I just turned 40, right? I have 30 years of experience in the things that we're talking about. And the experiences I had in my life between both my immigrant grandfather, entrepreneurs who had small legacies, pass away within a month of each other, and have our families sue each other, aunts and uncles, parents, my grandparents, arguing over who gets what and how much, fracturing our family, fracturing our relationships over money, and then being able to watch things in my real life about delaying Social Security till you're 70 because that gives you the biggest benefit. But what about all the opportunity costs lost between 65 and 70? What about what would have been possible for somebody if they started earlier? What are the ramifications of having that big retirement fund that now not only pays taxes, but you've increased your IRMA tax so high that you're actually spending more money in taxes, keeping less of what you have in retirement? These are the things that give me a picture of 50, 60, 70 years of life and the challenges that people are going to encounter along the way.
Great. Those are really great answers. Thank you for sharing that. It seems like you're really inspired to do this, not just 5 years ago, but it has been a theme in one way or another. And I can't believe you did that homeless experiment. That was phenomenal. While you were doing that, what was your biggest take from that experience?
Well, I had a variety of different signs when I was panhandling, and I was split testing them. one of the signs was around 11, morning time, mid-morning, lunchtime, that shelters don't serve lunch. The idea is that shelters will kick you out after breakfast and then they'll welcome you back in at dinner. But the idea is during the day, you're out there trying to find work. So they don't serve lunch because that would ultimately give people a way to not be out looking for work. So when I put that sign out, I got so many meals given to me. So many people gave me food that I had to go up and down the street giving the food to other people that were homeless on the street. And that was the takeaway, because when it came down to giving money, that was less frequent. Although I did get some. I think you asked about my size earlier. And one of the things that happened, even though at the time I was only 18, with my size, I watched people getting close to walking on the same side of the street with me, and they knew they'd pass me, and they saw me and they would go across the street. And I watched them advert. I listened to conversations questioning, oh, wow, he's so young. What happened that made him homeless? People sitting there judging and questioning, and not even judging from a bad perspective, in my opinion, but listening to what their judgments were, their curiosities, the things that they were observing and wanted to know about. Those are the things that I knew could be possible, but I didn't know what it would feel like or look like or actually be like before I went.
Was this experience in any way challenging or dangerous for you?
So my professor, my family, my teammates, nobody really wanted me to go, but there wasn't really anything anyone was going to do or say to prevent me. My buddy actually dropped me off at the train station and picked me up. When he picked me up, he was happy to see me, and he's like, dude, you stink. You need a shower. So that was a challenge. It was freezing cold. It was November. So I learned real quickly one night when I was outside bundled up with a towel over my head. I learned that newspapers are the best insulation, and stuffing newspapers down my pants and legs and my shirt is what kept me warm. So yes, there were lots of challenges. It was also scary at sometimes not knowing. So what I did learn about fear, people were more scared of me than I was of them.
Mm-hmm. You said something earlier about not receiving lunch, but receiving only breakfast and dinner, and somehow you got a hold of lunch, right? That seems to me that sometimes, and you're right, so that space is for them to go and find a job. But it seems to me that sometimes we enable the things that are happening to others, not knowing, right? Not knowing if that person had something to eat before or not. But we also, to a certain degree, we are part of the problem, I guess.
Sure. And maybe it's not a problem.
And maybe it's not a problem. All right. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions? When I say one or two things, just like we did earlier, but now completely different questions. I say one or two words, and you respond really quick. This one, we're going to be really quick.
All right.
Whatever.
No filter.
No filter. Being a dad.
Best thing ever.
Connection.
Important.
AI.
Amazing.
Fulfillment.
The pursuit.
Social media.
The catalyst.
Pornography.
Part of life.
Men.
I'm one of them.
Time.
Endless.
Fear.
Created.
Monogamy.
Okay.
Hate.
Love.
Intimacy.
Sex.
Stress.
Hakuna Matata.
Health.
Vital.
Women.
Beautiful.
Suffering.
Pleasure.
A job.
Purgatory.
School.
Purgatory.
Conversation.
Energizing.
Body.
Temple.
Family.
Vital.
Soul.
Infinite.
Happiness.
Puppies.
Evolution.
God willing.
Discrimination.
Not necessary. Not acceptable.
Work.
Purgatory. Sorry. Just feels like jail.
Fatherhood.
A blessing.
Manhood.
A experience
Grateful.
for everything.
Authority.
Leadership.
Empowerment.
Leadership.
Parents.
Guiders.
Authenticity.
True self.
Identity.
What you make it.
Mind.
What you make it.
Spirituality.
What you want it to be.
Service.
What you get to do.
God.
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 All around us.
Values.
The hierarchy of life.
Music.
Feel it in your body.
Leadership.
Serve others.
Legacy.
Beyond our time.
Emotions.
Regulate.
Daughter. Son.
Love them.
You know, I love that your response was more visual than auditorial, and some individuals, hopefully this gets to be on YouTube soon and see your face and your love. Career.
Platform for purpose.
Husband.
Honor.
Wife.
Queen.
Fatherhood.
Privilege.
Pleasure.
Pain.
Money.
Tool.
Life.
Opportunity.
True.
False.
Pain.
Pleasure.
Death.
Life.
Life.
Death.
Sex.
Fun.
Love.
Always.
Transformation.
With intention.
Education.
All the time, never ending.
I think I've got them all.
Beautiful.
For our audience, I want to emphasize how important it is to do what you do. I have a classroom, and in my classroom, I have a big sign that says, "I attract individuals dedicated to the pursuit of life fulfillment and unconditional love." And I want to invite him to connect with me, intimateconversationswithmen.com, to share your story, to share this episode, to share Pete with you. He's pretty tall. He can be spread around the world.
Enough to go around.
Enough to go around. And I want to invite you to connect with his and look at his profile, look at his company, Pluton Life. And the information is going to be in the description, but the last part of this is, Pete, what is the last thing you would like to say? Please give us your wisdom.
Well, what an opportunity, gratitude to share with you for giving me an opportunity to share with every listener that sees this. I think I shared a lot of my core beliefs and values today. And just in reflection, I think it's interesting as children, I think a lot of us hear that anything's possible. And we grow up believing that. And somewhere along the way, we stop. And maybe that becomes a structure or a result of a finite vision, something that has to become what other people think is our best life or what we should do. And nobody knows the answers. I certainly don't know all the answers. But I do know that living with intention, living with authenticity requires effort. And it requires awareness and consistency and persistency. And if you want it bad enough, the reason why it's possible, will only happen because of that consistency and persistency. When we let other people sway us away from our center, that's when we don't know who we are anymore. And if you're feeling like I did a few years ago and you're feeling like you don't know who you are anymore, you don't recognize yourself when you look at who you are today versus what you thought you would be or what you thought you were, it's an opportunity to help you understand that you're exactly who you are because of all the things that have happened to you. And there's an opportunity on the other side of that. And if you want to see what that opportunity is, you'll only know by going.
You know, Pete, I wanted to close with that, but I just have one more question. A lot of clients come to me, and regardless if they have dedicated their life to the science or medicine, sometimes they perceive that they are in the wrong position or wrong job, and they want to modify that because there's something more fulfilling, pardon me. However, I see that you've done so many things, and I see that things that you did help you. What would you say to someone who is stuck in the job they don't like to do and they're afraid to do the one they love?
If it's about money, it's time to burn the boats. Just do it. The money that you're afraid of not having or the security you're afraid of not having, don't do it recklessly. Don't do it this very second because I said so, right? Do it with intention, with a plan, with strategy. What I did from a logistical standpoint, you got to replace the money that you're making at the job you don't love. So little by little, you got to start taking whatever. If you work 40 hours a week, try to recapture 5 hours through your second income, then recapture 10 hours, then 15, then 20. All of a sudden, now you have a 40-hour job and a job that's making you the equivalent of 20. When you can replace that income with your new endeavor, that's when you can let go of that job and move on.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, do it with intention, whatever you do. Thank you, Pete. I thank you, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be in this interview and to our listeners to listen until the end. And yes, I send you my love and send everyone else my love as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.